What is good, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new video. We're here to talk about a lot of things. So we recently got some news about the um, Shopify rumors, or not rumors, I guess reports, with Seos leaving and Zeyzal joining. So that's very interesting. We're going to talk about that. And then we also do have to talk about TL and LYON because they're going to be our teams at MSI. Haven't really talked too much about like both teams in depth. I will save that video for closer to MSI. Like, I know TL plays first because the play-ins are happening before the actual event or tournament starts. So I'll have to do TL's video first, and then when LYON are about to play like a couple days before, I'll release my video about LYON, just kind of talking in depth about each player and what their strengths and weaknesses are. So hopefully this is something that you guys will be interested in because I have watched every LCS game, so I think I know a little bit about both these teams at least, where I can kind of give you guys some info as to like, hey, these guys are good at this, or they're bad at this, or these guys are individually strong at these champs, or watch out for these champs. Like a lot of different stuff for these two teams. So stay tuned for that video. We will talk a little bit about these teams towards the end of this video as well. And yeah, we can get right into it. So a lot of the news that has been coming out is around Shopify. Seos has left the team, and Zeyzal is supposed to be joining in Split 3. Very big actually uproar of reactions that I've seen on Twitter about this. I know a lot of people were not happy about this news. Well, I guess Seos leaving, first of all, I think like first and foremost, I thought that was expected. I didn't really think that Shopify could go without changes. Thought they had a very disappointing split in general, like the first two splits. I thought, according to their criteria, they would have wanted to compete for a little bit of a higher spot, like whether it's 4 or 5, I don't know. To me, they're not a top 4 team, but I guess they felt that way. They felt that they could have been. So split 1 was disastrous. I believe they finished dead last, so it was a little bit of improvement for split 2 at least. But yeah, unfortunately, like they just didn't have any juice to compete against TL. Got 3-0 swept in pretty clean fashion. So yeah, I think changes were necessary. But the only things you could have changed for Shopify, realistically, were top and support. Unfortunately for them, you couldn't really change much else. Zinni had just come into the team at the start of this year, and even though he hasn't looked that great, they spent a ton of money on him, and they have kind of basically put all their eggs into the Zinni basket, where like, this guy's going to be our savior, is basically what they have said. And he's looked pretty bad. But again, I'm not going to like give up hope on him at all. I think if you remember Quid's first year, he was like terrible when he was coming from Genji Academy. So Zinni, I'm not saying he's going to be Quid. I just think he needs a little bit more time. And hopefully he's able to be something. Again, it could be a complete whiff of a signing, but there's no way they're going to give up on him that quickly. And then I actually thought B-Boy and Contracts were like their 2 best performing players. So it didn't really make sense to get rid of them either. Fudge was kind of up and down, and I thought Seos was really bad the split. So kind of made sense for one of those two to leave, and they chose to get rid of Seos. Seos, I think, actually might have wanted to leave as well. He talked about how he wanted to, be close to his family in Brazil. So I guess that makes sense. Like, I think both parties are pretty happy with the, they came to like a mutual understanding. So first, do want to say we'll miss Seos. I think he is, he didn't have a great split or a great season. I thought last year he was a lot better. I don't know if it's the meta shift. I don't know if it's just that he just cannot really play enchanters that well, or what it is. But yeah, I just didn't think this year he was great whatsoever. But he is, I believe, someone who is a really like chill guy. Like I've seen him, give interviews and stuff before. He was on the analyst desk. I believe he's like the first Brazilian player to play in the LCS, so that's super big, and I hope that he has a great rest of his career in Brazil. I know he probably wants to round out his career in Brazil, so I don't know what team he's going to be playing for, but I believe there's teams like Pain who could use the support. I don't watch much CBLOL, so I'm not really sure exactly about like which teams could be a good fits for him, but I've seen a lot of people talking about Pain, so maybe he goes to Pain. Who knows? But yeah, shout out to Seos. Zeyzal coming in. This is something that was like this was the thing that caused a lot of like controversy because I think a lot of people were not happy. And I can kind of see both sides. I think like this is what I will say. I think Theos leaving, like I think it was gonna happen no matter what. Like Shopify probably had to make a change, but I think Seos also wanted to leave, so they kind of just had to replace him with someone. And there are like a good amount of supports that are in like tier two. Like Zeyzal was also in tier two for this past split as well, even though he's a veteran. I believe like Zyko or like Breezy, like these guys could have been like fits for Shopify, but it's very difficult to ask I guess like a rookie to come in for one split and kind of just turn the trajectory of the team. Like I think if you're gonna bring in a rookie, you will probably have to do it at the beginning of a full season, not at the beginning of your last split of the season. And this team is probably not going to go anywhere anyway. Zeyzal, at worst, he'll bring a voice. He'll be smart about the game. I don't really think he has like much more than Seos, if at all he does. I think this is a very lateral move. I think this was more about Seos wanting to leave Shopify and they had to replace him with someone. And Zeyzal is someone that they're familiar with. And, you know, they have familiarity there. They kind of know what he's good at. This is an engaged support. This is going to be coming back to an engaged support meta, I presume. So I think this is something that could suit him. He and B-Void do have chemistry. It's very difficult to integrate a rookie, you know, in your last split of a season and kind of have him synergize with B-Void and stuff like that. Like you would want to do that at the beginning of a full season. So like at the beginning of next year, you'd want to like bring in a rookie support. So I view this Zeyzal move. I hope the Zeyzal move is like temporary because I don't really see Zeyzal as like a permanent fix. I just think this is like a stopgap. You know, this split, we're gonna see what Zeyzal is able to provide. If he does well, we may retain him. If not, we'll just go with the rookie support. And we'll sign one, or an import someone that is someone that can provide some new, you know, a new voice, like a new spark. You know, like not the same recycled players over and over again. Because I think that's the main argument that people are making is that, you know, why Zeyzal? Like we've seen him forever. Like I feel like Zeyzal's been around for so long. If you're new to the LCS, you probably won't know who Zeyzal is, but Zeyzal has been around for a while. Like he was on C9, he was on a lot of teams. So he was even on Shopify before, like I said. So yeah, I know there are a lot of people who are not happy about this signing, and that they think Shopify is kind of just like making a pointless signing, which I understand why, but I feel like they didn't really have many options, to be honest. Like at the start of your last split of the season, integrating a rookie is really tough. I feel like you have to do it before a full season even begins, and kind of give him a full like roster that's going to be there for at least a full year. Like we don't know, like maybe like Zeyzal comes in and this team looks even worse and someone else has to leave, and then what happens, you know? So like you don't want a rookie to like be a part of that environment. Like you don't want a rookie to have to go through all that. You know, these guys are probably feeling a ton of pressure because they had a couple of really bad splits and they're really trying to like push on and get synergized. And I feel like Zeyzal is someone, like I said, who's a familiar face for them and who has been a part of that team before, and him and B-Void have good synergy. So it won't be that much of an adjustment for him or the team. Whereas for a rookie support to come in for a world split at the beginning of a world's qualifying split, it's a lot of pressure, and you know, it'll be a very difficult. Like again, like it would be very difficult to do that, to ask them to do that in one split. Like you'd have to like give them some time. So I hope that this is a temporary thing, so that, you know, once the whole season is over, they can kind of reevaluate their whole roster, and you know, my hope is that they find someone who can actually be like a permanent solution for them at the support position, whether that's someone from tier 2 or someone from you know, a different region. I don't know. I really do want them to invest into our tier 2, you know, supports though. Like I think Cryogen was a very good pickup by FlyQuest, but just people like that, you know, Psycho has been having a great tier 2. I believe he's I'm not really sure, I forgot what team he's on, but I'll have to remember that. But Breezy as well was on Dignitas. He was someone who I think he played a couple games, but when they didn't have their full roster and split one. Zyko's on Supernova correct. I just looked that up. So yeah, that slipped my mind real quick. But yeah, either one of these supports I'm looking at for beginning of next year for Shopify. I think if they're able to, I think if they're able to kind of retool this roster around contracts, because I think the 1 or 2 players that have really shown signs of stardom to me has been Contracts and B-Boy. I think Contracts, when he's on, can really rival some of the top junglers. Obviously, like Inspired is a different level, but like Blabber, like even Jose, like Griffin, like I think Contracts when he's on can rival these guys. He's a very good team fighter. I think the problem is Contracts sometimes will have some like very stupid decision making. Like he'll have like Blabber level ints, but like sometimes way worse. So yeah, I think Contracts, you know, he has his moments, but I think when he's on, he looks really good. And then B-Boy, same thing. I think B-Boy looks really good sometimes, man. Like, especially on certain champs like Lucian. B-Boy is really good on. I think B-Boy might actually, like, this might be a hot take. I know like people like LYON and Masu are in the league, but B-Boy's Lucian might be the best in NA. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. That I might be the only one saying that, because I've seen this guy like absolutely go crazy on Lucian. So B-Boy has certain champs that he can really, really 1v9 on. But I think that Seos was kind of like, you know, not elo helling him, but like, you know, he wasn't playing his best, and that obviously like made their team worse, because like last year this team's like one strength when they finished top 3 last year, by the way, Shopify, and their strength was their bot lane. Like I felt like Fudge, like he definitely leveled up for playoffs and stuff, and like second half of like last year, but Palafox was like their one like big weakness, and then Contracts I feel like is Contracts, but unfortunately, like, you know, this year their bot lane hasn't really been up to that level. I thought the bot lane was kind of like their one constant, but unfortunately it hasn't like been the same for this year. So yeah, I mean, I think, again, I understand why people are upset. Like I don't think Zeyzal is like top tier by any means. I don't think this is a signing that's gonna like wow anybody. Like this is a signing that is a lateral move in my opinion, but I hope this is temporary. I hope they're able to find a permanent solution at the start of next year. I think, like I said, I think the adjustment period for rookie support or someone who hasn't really had that much experience adjusting to a team that has a lot of, you know, expectations on themselves to, you know, compete at the start of their last split of a season is going to be very difficult. So I can understand why they went for him, but I hope it's temporary. And then before I wrap up the video, again, I did want to touch on LYON and TL. So TL are going to be playing first. They're going to be playing T1. I think we all know how it's probably going to go, unfortunately, for NA fans. But who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe there's some magic that happens. Because usually, I'm coping right now, but T1 like kind of starts tournaments off slower. So maybe they're like going to have to scale in. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you play T1, you kind of want to play him the first game. Like, in my opinion. I know like T1 is T1, but I would rather play T1 like first game of the tournament than have him than play him towards the end of the tournament, because by then they're already kind of like scaling, you know. But first game, you know, they kind of might have some like clown show moments, you know, like the clown fiestas that we always see from T1. Like they might still be in that mode, so who knows? They might not be completely locked. So yeah, very fun game, I guess. It might be a complete stomp, it might be a banger, who knows? But I think TL expectations, I think, should be like definitely top 3. Like I think anything that's not top 3, which is like a very like low bar because there's only 4 teams in the play-ins, I'm just expecting them to be better than the PCS team, Deep Cross Gaming. And Deep Cross Gaming is a very like bloody team. They like to fight a lot, but I think TL's macro should be better. TL versus KC is interesting. I think KC's a good team, but KC might roll TL, because the problem with KC into TL is that KC's team fighting is the best part of their game. And we kind of saw what happened to TL against LYON in the finals. LYON basically won every team fight. And even though TL's lanes were like winning a lot of the time, it didn't really matter because LYON's team fighting was just so much better. So my fear, even though I really want NA to beat EU is that KC's team fighting might just be too far ahead of what TL is prepared for. But that should be an exciting game. I think hopefully if the brackets go as planned, where TL lose to T1, KC beats Deep Cross, or I don't know, like whatever the bracket is, I think at some point TL and KC should be able to play in the lower bracket finals of the play-in to play T1 to go to that main spot. I'm pretty sure. So hopefully we're able to see NA versus EU. And then for LYON, listen, I think LYON is a very interesting team. I think the problem, again, with LYON, I will say like the one problem with TL is their team fighting. The problem with LYON is that sometimes I feel like they are just way too passive. And this is like a inspired team classic, to be honest. Like they could get rolled early. Like if a team gets a significant advantage ahead of them in lane, it doesn't really matter, about the team fight setups and all that, because if a team like, I don't know, HLE is up against them, like their HLE's lanes are too good. Like LYON needs to be way more strong in like the laning phase and like the early game, where they can actually like be okay against these teams, because I think LYON is fine mid to late game. They like to play for mid to late game, and they like to clutch out team fights and play like for these like late game situations, because they're a very good late game team. Inspired is like a very clutch player. They have a lot of clutch players on LYON, and they have guys who are like big moment players like Dokla and people like that. So I think mid to late game, LYON is fine. The problem with LYON is that they could get completely rolled early. They're kind of the opposite of TL, where I think TL's lanes are actually better, but TL's team fighting is really weak. I think LYON's is the opposite, where I don't think LYON's lanes are like that weak. I just think that that's probably their weakest part of their game. So I just hope their lanes are going to be okay, because they're going to go up against a lot of like strong laners in MSI. Like and this is going to be like the top of the top. So there's not going to be any, lanes where they're going to have like free lanes or like stuff like that. They're going to have to like play really well. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they do. But against teams like, which is funny because I talked about how KC, the matchup is pretty good for KC into TL. I actually think the matchup with LYON and G2 is G2 favored because of that reason. Again, big NA fan, like very big NA believer. But I also have to be objective. G2's early game is their best part of their game. They're a very good early game team. The problem with G2 is that they'll throw a lot of these early game leads. And LYON could capitalize. G2's not a flawless team, but G2's early game is really strong, man. They're very active early, and LYON is very passive. So that could be a situation where if these two match up, it could be G2 favored. I'm hoping that it's not. I don't want to curse any of these teams because I do want our teams to do well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, very like small snippet of what I'm going to be talking about when it comes to these two teams. I will go fully into depth about exactly what I'm expecting out of these players and what you can expect as if you're not tapped into LYON or TL or any of the LCS teams. We'll be making these videos as we get closer to the tournament, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a long one, but hopefully you guys stuck around. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new, comment down below your thoughts about the Shopify roster movements and what your guys' expectations are for both LYON and TL at MSI. And yeah, man, I'll see you later as always. Peace.